It's time to talk about my most watched Christmas movie growing up. It's Home Alone 2. I watched this way more than the original. After the gigantic success of Home Alone, this runaway incredible success, Macaulay Culkin was the biggest star on earth. I'd even go as far as say not the biggest child star. He was an absolute as big as the Beatles at this point for a short time. And everything became so big time with this sequel. You noticed in the first Home Alone things are more grounded. People didn't really know. John Hughes didn't know where it was going to go. Chris Columbus didn't know where it was going to go. It was more grounded. But once Home Alone just exploded, Home Alone 2 became a spectacle movie. It was like a spectacle kids film. It was almost like you were about to watch Die Hard 2 for the children's family genre. I mean, even at the start of this movie, the credits are twice as long as the first film. Like, it's presented as a spectacle. And those cool looking credits I've always thought, and obviously the staggering brilliant score by John Williams, immediately you're just like, wow, this is big time, this is Home Alone big time. And one of the criticisms of this film has been that it hits the same beats too much, and I can see that argument, I really can, but I also feel like this film, it's actually in some ways a genius way to approach a sequel, because the thing is, and I talk about, I have to be honest, I talk about sequels a lot, and I'm like, why do we have to keep having sequels? What I'm actually against is long-awaited sequels. I don't really care if we make sequels to something. I care when it's 30 years later and you try and recapture the magic and it doesn't work, because it's pretty much impossible. When it's something like this, and Home Alone just explodes, and Macaulay Culkin becomes the biggest child star on earth, who doesn't want to see Home Alone 2? Like, seriously, were people saying we don't need this at the time? You may say now we didn't need it, but at the time, people just were in love with Macaulay Culkin. They loved Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci. They loved John Hughes. It was going to happen. And, what I like about it is they're like, right, this is what worked in the first film. We'll use it. We'll use the same template, but we'll completely and utterly change things in some elements. I've heard some people say, oh, it just follows the beats entirely. What I feel like it does is it makes you feel familiar, presents the same scenarios, but also does have some unique elements. I mean, the city of New York is a gigantic new element in this. Again, it goes on with that big time feeling. It takes Kevin to elite levels now. He's almost like a mini John McClane in this, because everything's so serious and, well, not serious in terms of the stakes are completely heightened by this gigantic, incredible city. I remember as a kid, I was blown away by New York City. Home Alone 2 was the movie that made me want to go to New York City. I've still never been, probably never will. The same scenario happens with his family, where he falls out of his family, and Buzz outdoes himself with his arseholeness in this movie. This time he decides to pull a prank in front of the entire school and embarrass Kevin at 10 years old in front of the entire school. I don't think Kevin's mum realises the psychological damage this is going to do to Kevin. When he goes back to school after Christmas holidays, he's fucked. He's going to get destroyed for at least the next 3 years.
Beat that, you little trout sniffer.
Catherine O'Hara, of course, is back, and she's happy with Buzz's phony apology. That's not enough. Buzz should be, at the very least, banned from the holiday. I don't know why she doesn't punish Buzz in this. Again, I defended the McCallisters in the first one. In this one, I can sort of see why people are like, this is a bad family. But also, in a way, I don't think they're a bad family, and that's because certain elements save it going forward. Catherine O'Hara's dedication and regret and guilt works again. But this whole opening thing of Buzz getting away with it is incredible.
When you're ready to apologize to Buzz and to the rest of the family, you can come down.
I'm not apologizing to Buzz. I'd rather kiss a toilet seat.
I don't think the McCallisters are bad parents. I just think they split their attention too much. They it's almost like they want to be good to all of their kids, so they let each of their kids walk over them while they try and forgive their kids with similar age kids. That's the only defence I've got, and also the fact that there's the rest of the family there and they get carried away into their own world and maybe don't notice Kevin enough. I really do think that Macaulay Culkin is better in this film. I feel like they give him more lines in this, he has more to do, and he is more of a smart aleck, but he retains that likability, he really does. And again, that's a testament to Macaulay Culkin, because this time he had the weight of the world on him to do this. and he still pulled through with that innocent likability, despite progressing the character of Kevin to become a bit of growth in Kevin. You know, he's more confident, he's more self-assured.
I'm traveling with my dad. He's on business. He's at a meeting. I hate meetings. Plus, I'm not allowed to go in. I can only sit in the lobby. That's boring. So my dad dropped me off here. Gave me his credit card and said whoever was checking people in to let me in the hotel room so I won't get into mischief. And ma'am, sometimes I do get into mischief. We all do.
Of course, he now has the Talk Boy. Oh my god, the Talk Boy. So I had the Talk Boy, and the weird thing is, I was not that old when this movie came out. I was very, very young, so they must have tried to ride the wave of Home Alone 2 for a while, because I had a Talk Boy years after the movie came out, and it was still sold as a Home Alone 2 product. It was one of the coolest things. It looks high-tech, it looks fun and sleek, and whatever Kevin McCallister has, every kid has to have. It was a different time, you know, because the imagination behind the Talk Boy, it's just a tape recorder. That's all it is, guys. Can you imagine today? You wouldn't get, the kid would just throw this back at your face today. But back here, you know, I loved having it. I loved having a tape recorder, recording my voice, doing different impressions and things like that. Very, very early on technology of what we have now in a way. You know, the way that now we can just record anything at the drop of a hat and we can do whatever edits we want and whatever we want. Back here, there's still an imagination to it. It was literally just a tape recorder. Obviously, Kevin slows down his voice so he can check into the Plaza Hotel. I tell you what, Kevin's capabilities with these rubbish products. Can you imagine Kevin with access to the technology of today? He wouldn't be getting into the Plaza Hotel, he'd be buying his own house.
Plaza Hotel reservations, may I help you?
Howdy do. This is Peter McCallister, the father.
Yes, sir.
I'd like a hotel room, please,
Yes.
with an extra large bed, a TV, and one of those little refrigerators you have to open with a key.
Yes, sir. You'll need a major credit card upon check-in.
Credit card? You got it.
Tim Curry turns up in this film. Tim bloody Curry. Fantastic performance. I feel like the concierge character in this brings something that wasn't in Home Alone. You know, it's a more snarky, quirky, arrogant character, and he's just a ball to watch, Tim Curry.
All right. I believe you. But my Tommy gun don't. Get down on your knees and tell me you love me.
On your knees. I love you.
But Tim Curry's mannerisms, the way he delivers words, his lines, he's just entertaining for the entirety of this film. Even people who hate Home Alone 2 love Tim Curry in this. What a character he was. Harry and Marv are back in New York City, yes. Somehow Kevin encounters them. That stretch of believability is the equivalent of me going to London and meeting someone I randomly met in London on the street, you know, a year ago. No chance, mate. But somehow Harry and Marv run into Kevin. This is true fate.
Hiya, pal.
I think Harry and Marv are funnier in this, but I think they're less human in this. You know, they're really funny though. Joe Pesci and Dan Stern have just basically mastered the art of playing these guys as complete buffoons and very, very funny, bumbling characters. But I did enjoy watching them. It's a toss-up. I enjoy how funny they are in this, but in the first one you had a bit more dimension to them. But when it came to Home Alone 2, they're just fodder for hits. You know, you just like seeing these actors mess around in the roles, be funny, but you know, you do miss a bit of their grounded character from the first film. Harry and Marv are also more evil in this. They will kill at the drop of the hat. They'll fucking do a murder. Several points in this, they're going to kill Kevin. They're going to shoot the lad. And then near the end of the film, they're going to shoot the bird lady who comes to save Kevin without hesitation. They're going to shoot her. Absolute psychos, Harry and Marv. Yeah. You've also got a character called Mr. Duncan in this, played by Eddie Bracken, who is a very, very charming performance in this. And, you know, a character that people don't really talk about when they talk about Home Alone 2. He is a unique character to the film. Very, very sweet old man who owns the toy store. He's the one that Harry and Marv are going to steal from. You know, because he takes the proceedings down to the children's hospital at Christmas Eve. So it makes what Harry and Marv are doing in this, they deserve what they get. Bird Lady, played by Brenda Fricker, is a bird lady who Kevin meets on the streets of New York. He's scared of her at first, and then he gets to know her and he learns her story and they become friends. I've heard a lot of people compare this to Old Man Marley, and it is essentially that, but I feel like there's different dimensions to the bird lady than there is of Old Man Marley, and the purpose of having her is different. You know, in the first film, Old Man Marley was kind of the one who gave Kevin the means and the conversation, the friendship to have some understanding about how he felt about his family. Whereas in this, Kevin really helps the bird lady. He's a friend to her. He's a friend when she's in need, when she's been homeless for however long, not spoke to anyone. And lots of people have said that they have a problem with Kevin's delivery in their conversation. I was ready for that on this rewatch. I was like, will it come across as preachy? People have said, like, the kid knows everything about the world and he's telling this grown woman. I still fall under the spell of Macaulay Culkin in that scene. I think it's so charming and sweet. And some John Hughes fantastic dialogue. Really smartly written dialogue. And, you know, from the heart of a child, sometimes we need to hear that blind optimism that kids have. And it hits those buttons that you need. I love this line from Kevin.
You see, sometimes you can trust a person, and then when things are down, they forget about you.
Maybe they're just too busy. Maybe they don't forget about you, but they forget to remember you. I don't think people mean to forget. I think it just happens.
Maybe they were too busy. Maybe they didn't mean to forget. Maybe they forgot to remember you. That's such a smart line, you know, and I think that applies to life. You know, whenever I hear that line, I always think of people in my life. Like, you always think that people aren't interested in you if they don't, I don't know, get in contact or whatever it is, or don't keep up contact or whatever it is, or do something or act ignorant towards you, whatever it is. People don't usually mean to do it, and I love that little line of making you realise they're not consciously meaning to forget you, or they're not, you know, they might be too busy or wrapped up in their lives. And that's a really philosophical little line, I must say. I feel like the people who say that Home Alone 2 is completely the same, you know, I've only watched it a few times. When you've watched it the amount of times I have, you start to notice the differences and the nuances. Obviously, the booby trap sequence is pretty much what everyone knows this film for, because it just goes over the top to the 100th degree. It is mental. And as a kid, this is what I loved. You know, seeing Joe Pesci and Dan Stern get absolutely demolished was great, you know, and it inspired. I honestly think that Home Alone 2 was the one that inspired all these slapstick spin-offs, because the traps are so brutal in this. But Joe Pesci and Dan Stern, it's such a testament. It is such a testament because it's so hard to pull off this sort of humour, and they do it when it's even more violent. Obviously, it starts off with Marv getting a brick thrown at him from the top of a 10-story building, wherever it is. And it's hilarious. It's not sadistic, it's actually hilarious. It keeps that childlike mischief somehow. It really does become like a live action cartoon. The weird thing about this is, what I've always found weird about Home Alone 2 is that logic applies to the world. And as soon as it gets to the booby trap sequence, it becomes a cartoon. It's like two movies. It doesn't seem like we were living in a world where people could survive going 20 foot in the air falling onto a car. In the early part of this film, and at the end we're like, people can survive that. Kevin reuniting with his mother, this hits me a bit more than the first one, because Kevin says sorry first in this. You know, and lots of people who say, again, Home Alone 2's got nothing to offer, it's nothing different. Why does Kevin say sorry first? It shows growth, it shows a different kind of journey for the character. In the first one, he waits for his mum to say sorry. He doesn't really, you know, acknowledge his part in this, whereas Kevin in this is apologising to the Christmas tree when she comes to find him. he feels bad. You know, he's learnt his lesson. He doesn't want to continue doing this. And they're actually planning to do Home Alone 3, so how, with Macaulay Culkin, how the hell they would have justified, again, the McCallisters doing it, I have no idea. Home Alone 2 is great. You know, it's not as good as the first film in terms of just being a really concise, you know, creative, ambitious comedy. That was so original, that first film. You know, and it was so original and so effective. I was happy to see the same beats repeated because they were such amazing beats. What do you prefer, Home Alone 1 or 2? Let me know in the comments, and please subscribe if you're a movie geek just like me, and we can discuss and geek out together. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really hope you guys have a nice Christmas. I do have a requested review of It's a Wonderful Life. It'll either be up before this or after this, I'm not sure, but check that out as well. I'll see you guys next time.